So what I found is there are two big problems with Malenia. One, she gets health back from ashes, which is... I feel like that's what makes her busted. I feel like that's what makes her super strong, not Waterfall Dance. Waterfall Dance is fine, as long as she doesn't use it directly on top of you. My problem is that she always uses it to get my ashes, which gives her like a quarter of her entire health bar back, and also takes like a third of my ashes health bar. Oh wow, I go left, you go left with me. I go right, you go right with me. I go right again, you go right again with me. You just love following me, don't you? You weird stalker. But then the second problem, it isn't with Malenia herself. It's with the lock-on. Which, you don't need to sprint at me, you psychopath. You weird stalkery psychopath. But I mostly notice this when she uses Waterfowl Dance. But again, I don't think it's a problem with Waterfowl. I think it's a problem with either the lock-on or the dodge. But what always happens is I will be running directly backwards like this, and then I will roll. Like, I roll forwards. I'm rolling back to stay away from her, but don't run at me, you stalker. You nutjob psychopath. But I'll roll towards her, but instead of rolling towards her, the game will have me roll backwards. And it's right as she's doing her third flurry. So here. So I roll forward to get past her, but sometimes the game has me roll backwards even though I'm holding forwards. And I don't know why. I think it's like pressing the button to dodge right as she's like shifting from behind or from in front of you to behind you, and it confuses the game. And you don't have to run at me, you psychopath stalker. But like most of the time it's fine. But sometimes the game will have you roll directly into the mouth of Waterfowl Dance. Which is 100% not fine. And has... I'm on like attempt number 5 right now. Like somewhere between like 5 and 8 maybe. And I don't know if you'd call that a bug or a glitch or like an unintended side effect or what, but whatever it is, again, it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's very, very noticeable. And it makes you take a shit ton of damage that you should not take. And I mean, it's Malenia, so on top of it doing a shit ton of damage to you that you shouldn't take because you dodged, it also gives her health back. Yeah, like, see, it didn't really happen there, but I'm holding forwards and dodging. But because a lot of the time she's going like off to the side of me right as it's happening, instead of having me roll forward, which would then put me farther away from her, it has me roll sideways. Which isn't really good. I mean, it's not terrible. I don't really have a problem with it. I only have a problem with when it has me roll... Which way are you going? I only have a problem with it when it has me roll directly into waterfowl. When I'm dodging away from it. But the game gets things backwards. Alright, now moving forward, and I dodge. And it worked there. But what I've noticed is because she can get health from ashes, and because she tends to focus on your ashes a lot, at least a lot more than most other bosses. Because other bosses, I'm like, heal use, please. Attack the enemy. Don't run at me, you creepy stalker. But because she focuses on ashes a lot more than most other bosses, then every time she waterfalls, she just waterfalls into them, and then she gets a ton of health back. And then it's like, well, I need to use... It's like I need to drop 3, 4, 5 Crimson Tears in order to have enough damage output. It kind of like half did it there. Where it had me roll slightly towards her. But yeah, I mean, so because it takes health for me to summon Mimic Tear, and because she gets a ton more health from Mimic Tear, I need to put in more health to summon them, and I need to put in more Cerulean Tears to make up for the fact that he's an idiot, and we'll just... Okay. Just... Okay. Sometimes I forget how little range hammers have compared to great swords. But it's like, because summoning Mimic Tear requires me to use more Crimson Flasks and Cerulean Flasks, it's like I can't have more, but I require more to use them. Meaning that, like, at first I thought, well, maybe I can just spawn Mimic Tear for Phase 2. That did not work. Simply put, that did not work. I was spamming the cannon because Malenia was just all over Mimic here. I was spamming the cannon, and her health did not move from full HP. Because, like, I would hit her with the cannon, and she would lose, like, maybe 1/20th of her HP. And then she'd instantaneously just backhand Mimic here. And then it'd be like, well, she's full health again. Would you look at that? And then I'd cannon her, and she just backhand Mimic here. And then I'd cannon her, and she'd backhand Mimic here. Until Mimic here died, and I had used up a lot of FP. Just to watch Mimic here get the shit kicked out of him. And it's like, that didn't do anything. All that did was waste a Crimson Flask and a Cerulean Flask. So all summoning Mimic Tier did, all summoning Mimic Tier, and S tier Ashe, the best Ashe in the game, all that did was drain my resources. Okay. Okay. Calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. Calm down! I am just spamming dodge. And I'm not getting any farther away from her. And there she goes. There's a bunch of health. I can't even do anything. Phase 2 hits and I cannot do anything.
Let your flesh be consumed by the scarlet rot.
So it's like, that strategy of just keep your distance, spam the cannon, it works on phase 1, as long as the game doesn't go, yeah, it'd be real funny if they rolled into Waterfowl Dance. Like, as long as the game doesn't decide to be a mentally deficient hillbilly and decide that that would be funny, as long as the game doesn't do that, you can get through phase 1 pretty easily. But then phase 2 kicks in, and suddenly you have the same problem as Renala, which is you cannot use magic. You are always on the back foot. You can't do anything. You will run out of stamina and she will kick you in the dick, uppercut you, knock your teeth out, fucking give you a wedgie, rub a permanent marker on your face, and then stab you in the eye. And then you're still out of stamina. And then you're also out of health. And so it's like, you simply can't do anything. And again, you can't summon Ashes, because she'll just go, ooh, look, a free health pack, and then Waterfowl Dance. And so it's like, for me, phase 1 is fine. Quote, 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 fine in bold. fine. Or quote, 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 quote. You just have to not use ashes. But phase 2, she's simply way too fucking aggressive to the point where you flat out can't do anything. You simply cannot do anything. You can't even get an attack off. You can't even stop the spam roll. The white screen. The blinding white screen. That was rude. Alright. Kinda want to use this for phase 1. No. Okay. What? Question mark? Dot 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 question mark? The third one hits behind, doesn't it? No. Okay. Please stay away from me, my friend. Please don't do that to my friend. Please don't do that to my friend. It's rude. Okay. Now, in Bloodborne has something similar to this, where there's like the final boss, and then there's like a second other final boss that's like controlling the first final boss or something. And I think it's done really well in Bloodborne, but not really in this game. I feel like in this game, if you got access to your horse, or if Elden Beast didn't run away endlessly like this, or if Radagon and Elden Beast were separated into two different bosses, like how it is in Bloodborne, where you kill the first one, and then you die to the second one, and then the first one is still just dead. Like, the first one just remained dead. Like, if they did that, I feel like if they did literally any of those three things... I'm sorry, did you just try to follow me and run directly into the fire? This is what I mean by... I would rather the boss focus me than the Ash. Because your Ashes will straight up walk into being shot. Your Ashes will straight up walk into fire. Because. Like, I'm kind of an idiot. I look like Albert Einstein next to Ashes. Like, next to Mimic Tear, don't get me wrong, I love Mimic Tear. I look like Albert Einstein next to Mimic Tear. Because they're that stupid. They just walk into fire. They'll just stand there, they get waterfowl danced. I would like to point out that I have beaten this game 14 times. I have never once in my life seen that attack. It's like with Magma Worm. I fought Magma Worm every single time. And it whipped out like 4 things I've never seen before in my life. Blinding white light, because the developers want you to go into this fight blind. And they get kicked in the teeth. And that's delayed, because the Elden Ring developers love their delayed attacks. They love their delayed attacks. Don't know why. You're a bitch, you're a bitch, you're a motherfucking bitch. Yeah, that comes out. Elden Ring bosses in a nutshell. Attack number 1. So delayed it takes 3 years for them to throw it out. Attack number 2, so fucking fast that you better be Barry Allen if you want to dodge that shit. Those are the 2 choices for Elden Ring bosses. Dude, you can't even see the boss. It's like you can't lock onto the boss because it'll throw everything out of whack. You can't look at the boss because the boss is too fucking big. Get bonked, bitch. I can't see what you're doing. Yeah, your options really are be blind or be ranged. Are you going after me? Yes, you are. Mimic here, stay out of it, stay out of it. Alright, there you go. The amount of times I've seen Mimic here walk into an attack and just let themselves get bombed is ridiculous. Okay. Mimic here, why are you running away from the boss? Yep. How'd I know they would send the fourth one after me? Okay. Don't know why you suddenly decided to come after me. Like, really don't know why you suddenly decided to come after me. Fuck off. It sucks that Elden Stars is faster than you. Okay. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Yeah, you can just hang out underwater. Where you're invincible to most attacks. I was about to say, is the game gonna let me run this time? And it did. The game did let me run this time. How very polite of you to let me do a basic function of this video game. Okay. Okay, it's that attack. Is it possible to dodge that attack? I don't like seeing an attack like 2 or 3 times and just going, that's impossible to dodge. Like, I really don't like doing that. So I would like to know. Okay. So I would like to know. Is it possible to dodge that? Like, well, one, is it possible? Two, can a normal human do it if they learn? Because there are some attacks where it's like, well, yeah, sure, it's possible, but like, good luck. Okay. You suck. They aren't nearly as bad. Like, they aren't nearly as bad as some other bosses. Like, they're not nearly as bad as Phase 2 Malenia. But, man, they still suck. They suck for very different reasons. But 60 health, 40 mind, 40 intelligence, 30 strength, level 128. Using... That was just a leftover of me trying to fight Malenia. But using a very low damage negation build. Yeah, because like 2.3, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11.6. So this entire thing combined is 11.6. For physical, that entire set combined is less physically defensive than Blythe's chest piece by itself. Yeah. Which means a lot less room for error. Now, we skipped a lot of the side quests, so we only got Mending Rune of Death Prince and then Ronnie's there. No matter what, you can get Mend the Elden Ring. Unless you do the Lord of Frenzied Flame, which I never do. I did it once on accident because it was in my first few runs, which is where I don't look anything up. And so accidentally did that and didn't know how to reverse it. And after that, I was like, yeah, no, not doing that again. Now, I'm not sure why half of Redigan's body is still here, but whatever. Ronnie.
The battle is over, I see. I do solemnly swear to every living being and every living soul. Now cometh the age of the stars. 1,000-year voyage under the wisdom of the moon. Here beginneth the chill night that encompasses all, reaching the great beyond. Into fear, doubt, and loneliness, as the path stretcheth into darkness. Well then, shall we? My fair consort eternal.
The final, like, don't get me wrong. I really like Elden Ring. However, the final third of the game is such a massive disappointment and such a massive headache that it drags the game down a lot. Like, if they could find a way to fit in Crumbling Fair Missoula, probably as like a side area, as like an optional area, maybe, and just take out Mountaintops of the Giants completely. Just open Mountaintops of the Giants, take it, destroy it, burn it. I mean, maybe keep a few things like Castle Soul to be, like, put that in a DLC or something. Alright, just slap that in a DLC. But just take out the Mountaintops of the Giants. Nerf Phase 2 Malenia. Like, just tone down the aggression a little bit. I feel like if they did that, it'd really go a long way. Just tone down the aggression in Phase 2 a little bit. Make it where she can't get health back from ashes. I feel like those would be two easy changes. But just have the final... And also take out Elden Beast. Unless maybe you get like a certain ending available. So just have it be like, you fight Morgott, maybe find a way to tie in Crumbling Fair Missoula. I mean, like, maybe you could go and you could touch the thorns, and the thorns would, like, suck you in, and then you'd end up in Crumbling Fair Missoula. And then you'd go and you kill Malekith, and then killing Malekith lets you get the Rune of Death, and then that would let you go kill the brambles, keeping you out of the Erd Tree. That'd make basically as much sense. And it would cut out the Mountaintops of the Giants. And find some other way to get Miquella's Haligtree in there. And then there are some things from like the Consecrated Snowfield that are nice, and some things from Mountaintops that are nice. But overall the areas suck, and so take them out. Find a way to add the nice things in. You can throw them in a DLC. Doesn't matter. You can throw them in... You can throw them into a DLC and just let things be fine. And I feel like then the biggest criticism of the game would be you go from Morgott to Radagon, and that can be a big leap. But like that doesn't sound like a big criticism. Whereas me personally, and everyone I've talked to, and all the videos I've seen online, everyone seems to agree. Mountaintops of the Giants were awful. They single-handedly soured the entire experience. Which sucks. Because I feel like with just a few... I keep saying this, and I feel like a broken record, but it's true. With just a few tweaks here and there, nothing major, just a few tweaks here and there, Elden Ring could go from like a 7, like 7 to an 8 to a 10. It could. It could pretty easily do that. It could easily make that jump. Again, with just 2 changes, or like 2 balance patches. And only one of them would really be a balance patch. One of them being just a quality of life thing would be great, and it would go a really long way. Because like how you view a Souls game changes as you play it again and again and again. So there are certain things where on my first run I hated something, and by the time I hit my like 6th run, I'm like, yeah, this is great. And then there are some things where I love something the first run, and now I hate it. That just comes with learning more about it, with learning more about the game, with learning more about how the systems work. And I mean, that's just natural. The more you learn about something, the more your idea of it changes. Especially something as big and complex as this. But it just hurts. Because this game could have been so much. This could have been FromSoft's best property. By miles. Not even close. But as things stand, it's my 3rd favorite FromSoft game. I have Bloodborne, which is like a 9 out of 10. And then I've got Dark Souls 3, which is like an 8.25. And then I've got Elden Ring, and it's like a 7.75. And it just hurts. Because I truly feel like this could have been the best. I truly feel like this could have been a 10 out of 10. I really, really wanted to go into this game and come out with Bloodborne knocked down to my 2nd favorite. I wanted that to happen. I wanted this to be my new favorite game. And in my first, like once I got done with my first run, yeah, I went, man, this game is like a 9.5 out of 10. It's got a few like minor hiccups here and there, but it's been great. And a lot of the things that went wrong, I just assumed it was because I didn't know. I assumed I didn't know how to dodge. I assumed I didn't know what was happening. But the more I played it, the farther and further it fell. And again, I don't hate this game. It's just that the final stretch, just the final stretch, just after you beat Morgott, the game is such a slog. And it's so painful. It hurts. It does. And I love this game. But I feel like if they genuinely, I feel like if they cut out Mountaintops of the Giants entirely, took the few good things that are in it, like Castle Soul, and shaped them up a bit to make them just a bit better, and just put them in the DLC, or put them in a DLC. Same with Consecrated Snowfield. And just made it to where you get through Lanedell, you kill Morgott, you touch the brambles, and then the brambles can teleport you to Crumbling Fair Missoula. And then you kill Malekith, you get the rune of... You get Destined Death. That allows you to kill the brambles. Then you can go in and kill Radagon. And then, like, maybe it's a guaranteed thing, maybe you need to hit a certain requirement, but then Elden Beast. And maybe change a few small things with Elden Beast. Make him a bit more bearable. I don't think anyone would have complained about the game being too short. Because you'd still have Limgrave, you'd still have Weeping Peninsula, you'd still have Laramie of the Lakes, you'd still have Caelid, you'd still have Altus Plateau, you'd still have the Volcano Manor, you'd still have Crumbling Fair Missoula, you'd still have Siofra River and Ainzel River, you'd still have Nokron, you'd still have Noxtella, you'd still have Deeper Depths. You would still have so much in this game, and none of it would be soured by Mountaintops of the Giants. Would that make the game perfect? No. But for me, if they did that, it could bring the game from like a 7.75 to like an 8.75. And then it could be the second best game in the series for me. And I mean, if they did that and then also added like quality of life changes, make it easier for you to get off your horse so you don't have to press it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Just fix up some of the weird bugs, glitches, unintentional side effects, whatever you want to call it, of lock-on. Where it's like, instead of locking onto the enemy 2 feet in front of you, who is actively aggroed onto you, it instead aggroes onto the enemy that's like 30 feet away and doesn't even know you're there. Just smooth out some of those things so that way there's more quality of life, and then just a few balance changes. Like with Nile, get rid of the 2 summons that he has and compensate for that by giving him more health. Like that would make him a better fight. I legitimately think that would make him a much better fight. and I already like him. I mean, in a boss tier list, I put him in A tier because I really liked him. Do that, he would be an S tier boss for me. He would be great, and I'd love him so much. I don't know. I don't know what the devs were thinking because how I've looked at this game has evolved. At first, I thought it was that the devs were going from like open linear, every area is kind of like self-contained, but they all can expand out and they'll interconnect, or at least most of them interconnect. And here they're going to open world. And maybe they don't know how to do open world just yet. Give them time, they'll learn. But then I realized, no, a lot of the problems that I have happen inside these like legacy dungeons, inside these areas that are self-contained but also interconnecting. And I really like a lot of them, but they have problems that the previous Soulsborne games simply didn't. And I went, okay, well, maybe some of them were new. Like, maybe some of the developers were new. But no, because there's also a ton of just masterpiece areas, and masterpiece enemies, and masterpiece bosses. Ones that are just really, really, really good. And so it's like, well, how can they be new if they're creating things that are this good? And then it went to thinking they were slightly too ambitious. And like that's why Mountaintops the Giants sucks and why like Phase 2 Malenia is not tuned properly and why the Consecrated Snowfield sucks. And why the like dual wielding enemies in Castle Sol and in Crumbling Fair Missoula are really overtuned. Like they simply didn't have the time. But you also get problems like that in the early game. And you also get like missing dialogue in the early game. Like with Blythe when he says we missed our meeting when we didn't. Or with Millicent when and that's in Caled, or with Millicent in early Altus Plateau where she says like she wished she could aid you in battle, but she can't when she does. And then things like Margit where some attacks come out super, super quickly to the point where you need to dodge almost before the attack is even coming out. And some attacks that are super, super delayed. And that happens with a lot of bosses. And I mean, there are just a ton of examples, and then it moved to the evolution I'm in now, which I'm in denial about. But right now, I see it as one of two things, and both of them are awful because they they spell an end to FromSoft as a company known for making very high quality games. The first one is they don't know what to do anymore. they don't know how to evolve on this formula anymore. And they just think, well, we're known for making games that are really hard, and so they just artificially create difficulty with things like some attacks being super, super, super delayed and some attacks being almost instant. And some enemies and bosses just being extremely overtuned. Which I feel like is probably. I feel like that one is more likely, or at least if it were to be true, it would be for the normal people working on the games. And then the second option I see is that they're greedy. They just want money. They've fallen, like Valve did. And I really don't want that to be true. Like Blizzard did. Like Activision did. Because it would ruin any upcoming games they make. And I feel like if this were to be true, it would be with the higher ups. So I mean, it's like it could both could be true. I really, really hope that neither of them are true. But all of the previous conclusions that I had come to, they all had a major issue with them. Like with thinking that they had transitioned from open linear to open world, and they just didn't know how to do that just yet. Major problems with that. Thinking that they were slightly too ambitious, but there are major problems with that. Thinking that it was just new game developers who didn't know, but there are major problems with that. And I haven't found a major problem with the two newest theories of they've run out of ideas to freshen up the formula. Because, like, yeah, guard counters and dual wielding and jump attacks. I mean, I know Dark Souls 2 had dual wielding and the games had like a primitive form of jump attacks, but they evolved on them. But that's only three. That's only three attacks. And some people might point out, like, oh, well, they created new weapon classes. And it's like, yeah, they changed the name of Colossal Sword, or they changed the name of Ultra Great Swords to Colossal Swords, and changed nothing else. And they took some of the really big Great Hammers and some, like, really big halberds and slapped them into a new class called Colossal Weapons, where in the other games they would just fit into a different class. Like a lot of them would just fit in a Great Hammer. And it's like, oh, they have heavy thrusting swords and great spears, but it's like they're just thrusting swords but bigger and spears but bigger. And so it's like there are some problems with that theory, but I feel like it's a lot more solid than the others because there are some small problems with it, but it doesn't really have any major issues, unlike the previous ones. And them being greedy, which would be more of the higher ups, it's like, yeah, You could see that because, oh, well, they were running out of time. They were running out of money. Well, they're what, like a multi-million-dollar international company? Maybe multi-billion-dollar? Like, surely they have, surely they have some money lying around for an extra, like, 2 months of development, extra 2, 3 months of development to actually finish Mountaintops of the Giants, to make it a viable area. But I don't know. It might be a combination of things. It might be something that I just don't know yet. I still love this game, but it just hurts. It just hurts that it could be so good. It could be so much better than what it is. But it's simply not. And it could so easily be better than what it is. But anyways, we we got stopped by a few bosses. There were a few side bosses we couldn't beat, but we beat the game as a battle mage. I'm gonna continue to play this game. I'm gonna continue to try to improve. But I also think I'm gonna go and play some of the previous games and compare them to Elden Ring. See how they do, see how they hold up. And I mean, I played one run of Bloodborne a few months ago. I did a challenge run, I did a level 4 run, which is the lowest level you can get in Bloodborne. And I did one run of Dark Souls 3 like 5, 6 months ago, but now that I've really sunk my teeth into Elden Ring and beaten it 15 times now, which certainly isn't impressive. It's not nearly as much as the other games, but I feel like it's enough to learn the game sufficiently, especially since every single run outside of 2, I've done something different. Like the one I recorded last time was very similar to my first run. So, and then I had pre-record, which was the same exact run, and I was doing record and pre-record at the same time. But I didn't count pre-record because because I was doing the same thing. I don't count it as beating the game another time on another run. But I want to play the previous games. I want to see how they hold up. I want to see if I can play them and keep them at the same rank that I have them at. See if I would still keep Bloodborne at a 9, 9.5, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, there we go. We beat the game. I got over being sick. That's nice. So, yeah.